Hi everyone, again, awesome job for getting to this stage. Paper 1 and Paper 2 out the way. The fact that those exams were back to back, you should be feeling extremely proud of yourself. A lot of hard work has gone into those exams and you are under a lot of pressure. Great job to get to this point, but we have to finish with a bang. There is still Paper 3 to go, and it's important that you're revising hard for this paper. You're taking it very, very seriously. You know, evidence from the last few years really shows that Paper 3 is often the make or break paper. It's broken many students because they've taken it lightly. Their grades have suffered as a result of underperformance in Paper 3. Or it's been the paper to drive students up to the highest level of success. It's actually a very high scoring paper if you're revising smartly for it. So your job is definitely not to take it lightly. The same kind of intensity and hard work that you put into Paper 1 and Paper 2, you've got to be doing for Paper 3 starting from now. And that's exactly what this video is going to help you with. Key tips, key advice, especially of how to use this time before Paper 3 to secure the highest grade, to revise really, really smartly, but also a detailed breakdown of your paper. Oh yes, in minute detail, making sure you're okay with everything that Paper 3 is going to throw at you, whether it's time management, whether it's essay writing, essay structures, whatever it might be, it's all going to be delivered to you. So make sure you're watching this video all the way to the end. You're taking in all the advice and guidance given to you, but more importantly, make sure you're revising following all of that. Smart revision, intense revision for Paper 3 is going to get you to a high level of success. We're not going to take it lightly. We're going to go strong, starting with key advice. First piece of advice is pay absolutely no weight to predictions. Just don't worry about predictions. If anybody out there is doing predictions or you're hearing predictions, completely disregard them, because nobody knows at all what's going to feature in Paper 3. There is no way to know what's going to feature in Paper 3. If you look at the last few Paper 3 exams, right, no one would have thought that those topic areas or those contexts would have featured at all. And also, you don't need to worry about predictions. You don't need to think I need to rely on predictions, because within Paper 3, it's exactly the same content that you've been assessed on in Paper 1 and Paper 2 that's going to feature in Paper 3. The same micro content, the same macro content that's in your syllabus, only that can be assessed. Nothing outside of that. So you're safeguarded there as long as your content is really good. But also now in Paper 3, you're going to have extracts which are absolutely incredible. They're written very differently to how they were written in Paper 1 and Paper 2. In Paper 3, the extracts will give you literally everything you need to write incredible essays. So tie that in great extracts with awesome content knowledge that you'll have for Paper 3, and you'll be absolutely fine regardless of what the context is, regardless of what the questions are. So yeah, don't waste your time with predictions. It's literally a massive waste of your time. It's not going to get you anywhere. You want to be focusing more smartly than that. One thing I will say though is that major topic areas that haven't featured at all in Paper 1 or Paper 2 as essay questions are much more likely to feature in Paper 3. So when it comes to content revision, weighing up those topic areas will be a smart use of your time, but certainly no predictions. Second, in terms of how to use this time before Paper 3, you've got to be revising smartly, and I recommend two things. First of all, you have to be a content master. It is so important. I've already said it's the same micro and macro content you've already revised for Papers 1 and 2 that you're going to need to revise again. Nothing outside of that can be assessed in Paper 3. So it's making sure you're a master of all those topic areas. But be careful with this, because bear in mind, when Paper 3 comes along, it would have been 3 weeks since Paper 2. It would have been 4 weeks since Paper 1. So don't just assume that, oh, look, I've already done my micro and macro. It's all in my head. It's all just going to be there for Paper 3. Not at all. You'll be rusty, very rusty, if that's what you're thinking. So from now, really get going strongly with content mastery. Every single topic area in micro, every single topic area in macro, weighing up the topics that haven't featured predominantly in Papers 1 and Paper 2 is what you have to be doing. And that's why you need a lot of time to making sure that you're going to be razor sharp with content. I can't overstate that enough, guys. That is so important to be incredibly good with your content, number one. And to be testing yourself with active recall and doing past paper questions as well. But second, you must be preparing for the unique elements of paper 3. And there will be unique stuff within paper 3 that you need to be ready for. And that's what the remainder of this video is going to help you with, a detailed breakdown of the paper, giving you guidance for all these unique elements. So make sure that you take in everything that's coming. This is all pre-recorded, what's coming next, so I look a little bit different, but it's gold dust nonetheless. Take it all in, watch to the end of the video. Make sure you revise this way very smartly. Make sure you then do this in paper 3 and see those marks increase significantly. Enjoy what's coming, guys. So the paper 3 is going to be split into two sections, section A and section B. Section A is going to consist of 30 multiple choice questions. Now these questions can be on anything in the course, micro and macro. But these questions, guys, are absolute gifts. Multiple choice questions are lovely questions. It's a chance for you to gain seriously high marks. And whenever we're given these wonderful gifts, we should be thankful to the economics gods for helping us through, giving us a chance to make major gains and score very high marks. So be thankful, be happy. This is a great, great chance for you to perform very strongly and score very high marks. Now, the key with multiple choice is knowing your content really well. So as I said before, content mastery is very, very important, both in micro and macro, but you have to be practicing multiple choice questions. We have so many past paper questions to do, lots of previous OCR paper 3s for you to look at, and just do all the multiple choice questions that have come up in the past. Practice them. But maybe as a deeper way to practice multiple choice, it's not a case of just picking the correct answer and moving on. Think about why an answer is correct. Think about why other answers are incorrect. That's excellent added practice in multiple choice. You're adding to your content mastery. OCR tend to follow very similar formulas for multiple choice questions, very similar styles. So by practicing all the previous questions, you'll be in a very good place for this year's paper 3 multiple choice questions. What I'm going to do now, though, is actually give you advice whereby you can hit the highest marks with multiple choice. You can get the correct answers even if you don't necessarily know the answer. So follow these tips very carefully with multiple choice. First thing is to highlight exactly what the question is asking. You know, multiple choice questions, there's often so much waffle, so much unnecessary writing, especially when a diagram is involved or there's a chart or a table. The first few lines of the question normally are just describing what the diagram is showing or what the table is illustrating, what the chart is illustrating. But we've got eyes, right? We have eyes. With our eyes, we can see what the diagram is showing, what the table is illustrating or the chart is illustrating. We don't need to read unnecessary waffle and boggle our mind when we have so many multiple choice questions to do. So highlighting what the question is actually asking will focus your mind on what you're looking for in the answer. But also highlighting key words, again, just to keep your mind focused to avoid silly errors. That's key tip number 1. Even if you think the question is good, highlighting in that regard is only going to help you. Second tip is know how the 4 answers are written by examiners. You know, out of the 4 answers, there is always going to be a distractor answer. That is an answer that seems like it might be correct, but actually it's a wrong answer. Examiners are horrible people. They set traps for you. A distractor is a trap for you to fall into. So no, there is always going to be a distractor. There is always going to be a correct answer, obviously. So you've got a correct answer and a distractor always for each multiple choice. That means there are going to be 2 clearly wrong answers. So if you're struggling to get the correct answer, you should start by eliminating the 2 clearly wrong answers. Then you're left with the answer and the distractor. And hopefully when it's a 50-50 like that, your economic skill can kick in. You're more likely to get the correct answer from a 50-50 than you are from a 1 in 4. Yeah, and hopefully in that regard, you can actually get the answer correct. That's a very useful tip. Third major piece of advice is scribble things down. Write down everything that's going on in your head. That might mean a chain of analysis you're scribbling down. Maybe it's an equation, maybe it's a calculation, maybe it's a definition, maybe it's a little diagram sketch. Whatever it is that's going to help you dissect the question down and get to the correct answer, do it. Don't have too much going on in your head. There's more chance for a silly error if you're letting your mind do too much. Put it down on the exam paper itself. You know, your multiple choice questions are not going to be marked by a human being. They're going to be marked by a computer. So any white space on the page you can use to scribble stuff down. Because often multiple choice questions, they go from a certain topic area to quite a deep end that they're looking for in the answer. So if you're letting your mind do too much, you can easily get something wrong in that chain, something wrong in that process. When actually you know the correct answer, by scribbling things down, you're just formulating the process nice and carefully on the page whereby you're not going to make a silly error. Okay, that's a huge piece of advice. When I was doing multiple choice questions myself in my economics exams, that was a huge tip I used. And my God, it made my life so much easier. I was getting full marks all over the place because of that really useful piece of advice. You do the same thing. Next, bear in mind, there is no evaluation in multiple choice. Don't be a hero. It's purely a theory test. What does theory suggest? Okay, that's what you're following, and then pick the answer accordingly. And lastly, when it comes to time management in multiple choice, my advice is to be really bullish. Most people out there, OCR themselves, would recommend a minute a mark. So that's 30 minutes for the multiple choice in section A. I think that's too long. And I think there are some questions out there you can literally answer in 5 seconds, 10 seconds. They're that easy. So I think on average, right, you can finish your multiple choice in 20 to 25 minutes. That's what I'd be aiming for. Yeah, there'll be some questions which are tougher. You might need to spend a minute and a half, maybe even 2 minutes. But there will be a rare number of questions. Most questions you'll be able to answer well, especially if your content is good, especially if you've been practicing multiple choice questions hard. I think the longer you think, the more likely you're going to self-create an incorrect answer. You're going to find a problem when there isn't one. Whereas if you're bullish, you're quick, you trust your content knowledge and your practice, you'll be able to fly through these. And that's what I recommend. Be quick, 20-25 minutes, use the extra time for your essays in section B. So quick with time management is a very big piece of advice too. Let's move on. Section B is going to be extract related, just like the extracts in paper 1 and paper 2. You'll have some written extracts, you'll have some charts, some tables, some data put in front of you as well in various extracts, just like you've seen in the previous papers. And you'll have a variety of questions linked to those extracts. As in paper 1 and paper 2, I do not recommend reading all the extracts at the start. The questions will be ordered whereby you go through the extracts in their natural order. So my take on it is just read the extracts, go through the extracts as you need them to answer the questions as they come up. So the extract reading, therefore, is in your timing for the questions, not separate to that. The questions themselves, you'll have a variety of short questions, just like in paper 1 and paper 2, 2 markers, 4 markers, etc., some short ones. And your job is just to make sure you're doing exactly what you did in paper 1 and paper 2 perfectly. So if it's making you define something, have a nice full definition. If you have to draw a little diagram, get that correct, get it accurate, get it fully labeled. If you're doing a calculation, show you're working, make sure your units are good. Whatever they make you do, just make sure you do that properly. You're not skimping, you're not being sloppy. The same kind of techniques to get those questions perfect as in paper 1 and paper 2. You're going to have one 8 marker, exactly the same style, that 8 marker as in paper 1 and paper 2, exactly the same technique. So my recommendation, a pro, a con, and then a final judgment paragraph. So 3 paragraphs overall. Again, use the extracts well. Hopefully your points, your arguments will all be there. You can latch onto those and you add the economic theory to form the full paragraph. So the 8 marker, nothing different to paper 1 and paper 2, same style. Just get that nailed on. The unique questions in paper 3 are going to be those 2 15-mark questions. They're not that unique. The way I would look at them is that they're basically mini 25 markers. Now, obviously, they're not a 25 marker, but essentially, you need to think of them as if they are a 25 marker. The key difference now compared to paper 1 and paper 2, these questions are linked to extracts. So the extracts will help you a lot, again, to form your argument. If there are policies you need to write about, those policies could be referred to in the extract. So you're going to be given help that way, but essentially they are mini 25 markers. So the way you need to structure these are just like a 25 marker, except with maybe one less point to what you're used to writing in a 25 marker. I know a lot of you are probably used to writing 3 analysis paragraphs and then evaluating in a 25 marker. My recommendation is for a 15 marker, you do 2 analysis paragraphs, evaluate thereafter, come to a final judgment as normal. That's the best technique. That's the best structure for 15 marks in paper 3. So like 2 of those, you should be fine. Again, if your content is good, just let the extracts drive the points that you're writing. Use the extracts well. Everything you write should be directly linked to the extracts really. And that way you're kind of in the spirit of those 15 markers in paper 3 versus the 25 markers in paper 1. And that, guys, is all the key advice that you need to prepare really well for OCR Paper 3. Make sure you've taken this all in and you feel really confident in your preparation to do great in your final economics exam. The last thing I'll say is that I do have an exam technique playlist for Paper 3. Make sure you check that out to really confirm that you are doing the right things, you are answering the questions correctly. Otherwise, work hard, prep hard, finish with a bang, and then you can relax in your summer holiday. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay tuned for future videos. I'll see you in those. All the best.